Welcome to the EAAB CPD presentation. My name is Vanita Lavaskachny from LDM Consulting, and I am training today on professional business communication and business etiquette. If we look at the workshop overview, we are focusing on communication and how to improve that. But before we can improve anything, we have to know what communication actually consists of. We're going to look at styles of thinking, because that's very important for you to improve your way of communicating with people. We're going to look at a practical approach to English communication and how to improve your pronunciation. Also business writing. We communicate a lot via emails and telephone as well, and we need to improve on that. And then we'll end off with business etiquette. Body language, dress code, and how to conduct yourself at social events in business. So let's start with communication in the workplace. You will see that communication consists of three main factors. The graph that you see, I just want to explain it to you quickly. 55% of what we communicate is done without any words. So it's the way that I greet my customer. Then tone of voice, very important. Do I sound friendly? Do I look friendly? And the smallest part of communication you will see is the 7%, and that is the actual words that we use. So it's not really what we say that's so important, it's how we communicate that. It's very important that we become aware of how we communicate with people. Now, it's not only, communication is obviously crucial for better relationships, better success in our place of work, but there are other things in the 21st century that I also want to make you aware of. The first one is global literacy. Do I have the ability to deal with a diverse society as we have in South Africa? Can I greet people in their mother tongue? Very important. And then the ability to be flexible, to adapt to situations. As an estate agent, there will be changes on a daily basis. Your clients might change their minds in a moment, and you have to be able to adapt to that. And then you have to be a subject matter expert. Know the laws. Your profession is regulated. There are policies in place. There's a certain culture in your place of work. So make sure that you know all of those things and that you are the expert to become successful as an estate agent. And then the most crucial of all is communication, but also the ability to collaborate with the people around you. Nobody works in isolation. So we have to be able to work by ourselves, but also in a team and feed off one another. If we look at thinking styles, very important that we know how our brains are wired in order to communicate successfully. Now, an individual's thinking style has huge power and it influences various aspects. What type of leader you are in your place of work, your decision-making skills, your relationship building that you do with your clients, internal customers and also external. And then your ability to negotiate and also how much influence you have in your immediate circle. You will see that there are 4 quadrants in the brain. The left side, on that side, the right side of the brain as you see it on the screen. Now, if we look at the left side of the brain, you will see that those people are rational, factual people. They are realistic and very organized in their thinking, their way of communicating, in everything they do. These people do everything with their heads. A customer that prefers this way of thinking would, for instance, tell you, I want to buy a property that is 3.5 kilometers from my children's school, has a square meterage of 1,200, and also takes me about 15 minutes to get to my place of work. That way of communicating immediately tells you that you are dealing with an analytical person and everything happens up here. And we will see just now how it influences the way that they communicate. The right-hand thinkers or profile users, they are visionaries, they're risk takers. They use feelings and intuition when they communicate and do everything in their lives. So everything that they do is done with the heart. Those are the customers that will tell you, oh, I absolutely love this house. It just feels right. And then you'll know exactly that, yeah, I'm dealing with a right-hand brain person. And according to the brain profile, you have to adapt your way of communicating. Now, we will look at the types of communication that we also prefer. Why is it important to be able to, first of all, ascertain which brain profile you are and then your customer? Because if we know that, communication will always go like this. If I'm a left brain person and my customer is a right brain person, we communicate differently and communication will always go like this. And that's why a lot of times we meet people and we walk away and we think, oh, that person just doesn't get me. The reason is that you are once a head person and the other is a heart person. Our brain profile influences the way we communicate. So let's look at the primary communication styles. The collaborator, contributor, inquisitor, and director. Let me concentrate now on collaborators. These are the people that you hear before you can see them. They thrive on communication. They love chit-chat. They are open, warm, friendly people, and very outgoing and also high energy levels. So, and obviously this is a right brain profile person. So if you left brain profile, you have to pick up your energy levels. You have to speak more, you have to interact more in order to meet that person's communication style. The contributors, also good with social interaction, but they prefer smaller groups of people. They are very good listeners, non-authoritarian, and not very good at making decisions. They are masters at the art of compromise. So these are the people that you will never really know if they're unhappy about something. They're not good at showing negative emotion. So they'll always have a smile on their face and everything is always okay. So be aware that you look at body language when you deal with these people and that you ask the correct questions to hear if they are really happy about a decision. The inquisitors, the left brain people, these are the perfectionists of communication. They think very carefully before they say things. They speak in facts. It's never emotional terms. So those are the people that will tell you, I want to live 3.2 kilometers from my work. I want to have a 10-minute journey to my child's school. They are not very good at emotional things, so leave emotion out of your communication when you deal with them. Give them the hard facts and data, and if possible, something on paper, because they don't make decisions quickly. They would listen to you while you're giving them all the facts, but they would love to look at it on paper in their own time and then make a decision. They don't make decisions quickly. And unlike the director, these are the people, also left brain profile, but they are to the point. They know exactly what they want. They will give you exactly the details, and they actually very easy to sell to. You don't have to give them all the detail, and they will be able to make very quick decisions. Don't question that. They know what they want, and they will tell you exactly when they've got what they want. I want to share some hot tips about communication with you, and I encourage you to go and watch this talk by Celeste Headley on the TED website. The first thing that she mentions is she says, don't multitask while you are communicating. So get off your phone, Stop typing on your laptop or being busy with something else. Pause, make eye contact with your client or with anyone that you communicate with, and be present. Then don't preach and go on and on and on. Not all people find that interesting. Remember that it's all about your client. Allow them to talk, and you are there to listen and absorb as much information as you can. Then use open-ended questions. Why? Because we want the customer to give us as much information as possible. So don't ask questions where they can just give you a yes or a no. Ask a question that starts with who, what, where, when, and how, why. That encourages people to speak full sentences, and from that you can gather your much needed information. Then go with the flow. Whenever we communicate with people, there's always other things that's going on in our minds. Just let it go and remind yourself that the person I'm communicating with is the most important person at that moment. The fifth thing, if you don't know something, say you don't know. Don't lie to your customer or make up stories. Just tell them, I don't know, and I'm going to find out and I will get back to you. And then that's exactly what you should do. The next tip, don't equate your experiences with that of your customer. Let them share their experiences with you. That's what's important. You want them to feel as the most important person when they are with you. And then try not to repeat yourself. Don't say the same thing or give them the same facts over and over. Always remember that time is the most precious commodity that we have. So keep it short and keep it concise with enough information. Forget all the details. As we saw from the brain profiling and the communication styles, not all people want all the hard facts and the details. So be very specific who you share all those details with. And then probably the most important skill is listen. There's a saying by Buddha that said, if your mouth is open, you're not learning. So when we listen, and that means that we are attentive and we show our customer, our client, that we are engaged by nodding, by making eye contact, by using words like, okay, I understand, that's interesting. Very important that we always show them that we are listening. And then the last tip, be brief. Time, as I said, is a very scarce commodity these days. And you'll see in the talk, Celeste Headley says, and this is actually her sister came up with this, a good conversation is like a mini skirt, short enough to retain interest, but long enough to cover the subject. We're going to move on to a more practical approach to English communication. Now, what do I do if I am not an English mother tongue speaker? And in South Africa, the majority of people are not. Most people are isiZulu speaking, isiXhosa, Afrikaans, and then only English speaking. However, business happens in English, so we have to be confident and competent in transferring information to our client. The first and most important thing is learn how to greet properly. Saying hi to someone does not constitute a good greeting. When you greet someone face to face, make sure that you're aware of what time of the day it is and greet them with a good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Introduce yourself. My name is... And then, how can I assist you? Especially when they walk into your estate agency. It also shows very good manners if you get up the moment that you see someone is approaching you. Then, if you want to improve your English, your pronunciation, the way that you communicate in English, listen to the language. Speak it as much as you can. The more you speak a language, the easier it gets. And English is not an easy language. And then listen to radio, television, read English. Another thing that I would really encourage you to do is to, since you spend a lot of time in your vehicles, listen to an audiobook or listen to something while you are driving, and make sure that it's British English, because everything in South Africa is based on British English. And then read aloud when you can. That helps you to focus, and also you hear your pronunciation of the words that you are reading. A couple of things that are very important, just to summarize: greeting, and it starts off with that, remember we said right at the beginning, that 55% body language, which is the most important. It starts with a smile. A smile breaks down barriers, so make sure that when you engage with someone face to face, or even on the telephone, you've got a smile on your face. And then greet them politely. It tells a lot about the way that you treat people. It makes them feel special. Then speak sentences. Go and write a 60-second, even shorter, autobiography of yourself. How can you introduce yourself? Your name, what you do, how long you've been doing it, your strengths. Share that with the people that you engage with so that they know exactly who you are. And then the questions. Ask open-ended questions. Very important. Remember that the moment that you engage with your client, they become the most important person in your world. If we look at telephone skills, we also spend a lot of time conversing over the telephone. A couple of pointers. Plan your calls. Remember, I said that time is a precious resource. So if you are going to canvas for new customers, sit down, write down the telephone numbers that you're going to phone for that day, allocate a specific time frame, and then also rehearse what you are going to speak about. Is there a specific topic? And then the experts say, stand while you make these calls. The more comfortable you are, the longer you're going to talk. Be friendly. People can hear if you've got a smile on your face when they speak to you over the phone. So make sure that you've got a smile on your face and that you are friendly, and that you also give them an opportunity to speak. And then, very important, use your client's name. Allow them to introduce themselves, and then people want to hear their name, so use it. If you're not sure of the pronunciation, ask them to pronounce it so that you make sure that you pronounce the names 100%. If we look at business writing, very important to remember, and we're going to start specifically with email communication. Whatever you put on paper tells something about your personality and how professional you are. So I want you to go back to some of your email correspondence and see, did I start the email by greeting the person? Or do I merely communicate with my internal and external customers by just barking instructions? It's very important that we greet politely. When we look at the tone, make sure that it's not too formal, but that it's professional. And please, no SMS writing. Full sentences, proper grammar. Start a sentence with a capital letter, end it with a full stop. Make use of your punctuation. Be very careful when it comes to punctuation that you don't use a string of exclamation marks or question marks. It tends to come across as aggressive, and it doesn't really create a good tone with the reader. Always remember that people don't read word for word. So keep it short, keep it concise, and always remember the KISS principle. Keep it short and simple. Now, we communicate a lot via email, but when is email not the appropriate way to communicate? When I want an immediate decision, when it's something critical and I want to know now, is it a yes or a no? I can't do it via email. I pick up the phone or I walk to the person or go to the person and have a face-to-face interaction. And then when there's a negotiation, we don't negotiate via email, we sit around a table, and that's where negotiations are supposed to happen. When dealing with confidential issues, think very carefully how you are going to share it. Email is not the appropriate way. It should be a face-to-face interaction, or pick up the phone and share that with whoever you are sharing this message. And then a highly complex message where there's lots of facts and lots of instructions. Because people don't read word for word, it tends to become a problem. They don't understand what you are saying, they misread, and there can be confusion, and conflict can even happen. And then when you need to resolve conflict, we do that face to face, still the best way. Now, when we look at formatting emails, some guidelines. First thing, keep it brief. Always start with a greeting, and then an introductory sentence and bullet points. Keywords, key phrases. People merely skim emails most of the time. They want to see, is there something I need to do? Is there some place I have to be? Is my name mentioned anywhere? Then try to reply to email as soon as possible. I would suggest that you, in your time management of your day, you allocate pockets of time where you are going to look at emails and reply immediately, or flag them so that you remember to reply to them the same day. Use capitals, as I said, and punctuation. Write full sentences. Write a salutation, a greeting when you start. If you know the person's name, use it. If not, try to avoid sir or ma'am or madam, rather Mr. or Miss or Mrs. and their surname. And then emoticons. Not really appropriate when I'm dealing with a customer. With my internal customers, my colleagues, where we know one another, not a problem. But try to refrain from using those smiley faces and emoticons that jump up and down with your customers. Always remember to proofread your email, regardless if it's a one-liner or a half a page. Remember that Word doesn't pick up all the errors. So there are some words that it's an acceptable English word, but it doesn't form part of what you are trying to say. Like from and form. The computer won't tell you there's an error, and it might just slip through. So always make sure that you reread your emails. Then remain consistent, friendly, and personable. Remember, your writing reflects who you are. It's an extended personality. And then the qualifiers. Don't use too many words like huge and to and most and more. Keep it simple. Simple, short sentences that's really easy to understand. And then be very careful when you are using I statements. Remember that you represent an estate agency, unless you are working in your own private capacity. Rather refer to the agency name or our organization. Some writing tips. Use the KISS principle as I referred to before. Keep it short and simple, purely because people don't read word for word. The greeting, very important. And then always remember to end in a positive manner. I'm eagerly awaiting your phone call or your communication or your document. It was a pleasure doing business with you. I hope to see you soon. So always end off with something pleasant, regardless of the situations that happened prior to the last email. Please and thank you are still words that are very, very important. And when we communicate in business, it seems as if we've forgotten those two precious words. So in your face-to-face interactions and also in your written communication, use the words please and thank you. Let's look at mandates, reports, feedback, and then also updates that you have to share with your clients. These are most of the time lengthy documents that customers have to read if they prefer to have it sent by email, and always establish that with your customer. If they want an email copy as well, it will obviously be sent as an attachment. When you send it with an attachment, make sure that there is a cover letter, a short description with a greeting to say what you have attached. In short, explain in your mandate how you will market the property, what are the responsibilities of the parties involved and the obligations, and then obviously there are going to be successes, but there are also going to be failures, and you need to be able to communicate that to your customer. Be ready for that. If it's unsuccessful mandate or a sale that has fallen through, it should be a face-to-face interaction. Some people might react very emotionally. Make sure that you are up for that. Make sure that you are able to handle the emotion that they might display, whether it is sadness or anger or whatever. And then always remember that whatever you communicate should be or should show your professional conduct, because you are a professional and you have to be able to work with all kinds of people and communicate professionally. Business etiquette is something that we all need to know about if we want to be successful in what we do. When we look at body language, we saw that it's one of the most important things that we have to be aware of. In South Africa, it's still customary to shake someone's hand when you greet them. When we do that, make sure that it's a firm handshake, that you make eye contact with the person, and that you smile while you are shaking their hands. Go and practice it to make sure, regardless if it's a female or a male, that when you shake someone's hand, it's a firm handshake. And then also remember to introduce yourself to the person that you are meeting for the first time. Be assertive. Now, assertiveness looks a certain way. If I am non-assertive, so I'm not really comfortable with who I am. Most people who are non-assertive will always have something, and they will cover a part of their body. So they'll either have a clipboard, a file, even their cell phones or their tablets that they will cover a part of their body with. Or this also shows non-assertiveness. Even when I do this. Or cross over. So I am making myself look smaller. That's not what you want to display as an estate agent. You have to show that you are very comfortable with yourself, that you like who you are, you believe in yourself, because that is what people are going to pick up immediately. Now, a lot of people always ask, so how must I stand? The best way is to separate your feet, and then, especially for females, just transfer your body weight and find a way where you feel comfortable. If you don't know what to do with your hands, especially if you're analytical people tend to not speak with their hands, they don't use a lot of gestures, then make sure that you have something in your hand to occupy. Your cell phone is a great tool, a piece of paper, and always make sure that that is what you use when you have to meet someone and you maybe feel a bit nervous or anxious. But make sure that you look professional and that you feel comfortable in your own skin. Gestures, very important. Finger pointing immediately shows aggression. And for some people, it's a habit. If you want to, you have to break that. You can do this as an alternative, or have something in your hand and rather point with that. It's non-aggressive, but you are still using the gestures that might be something that you're used to. What you have to convey with your body is that I believe in who I am. I'm a professional and I am comfortable with myself. As an estate agent, you are a professional person. You have to look professional. So make sure that from top to toe, you look presentable. Clean clothes, clean hair, neat nails, short nails. For ladies, make sure that your nails are well kept. Avoid eating while you're meeting a client. If you have messed on your clothes, make sure that you do not meet a client like that. First impression is the most important. And you have 7 seconds to create a good impression with a first time meeting. So make sure that it's worthwhile. Dress according to your meeting. For gentlemen, good shirt, well fit trousers, and for ladies, try to avoid revealing clothing. It's distracting and it just doesn't send a professional message. If we look at social etiquette, especially business social events, there are also a couple of guidelines that we need to adhere to. Always dress according to the invite. So make sure that you know where you are going and what the type of social event is. Is it a formal dinner? Is it just cocktails, informal, casual event? Get all the information beforehand. Then, when you are eating in a restaurant, for instance, always allow your host to place the order. And I know that some hosts always insist that their guests are placing orders first. Be conservative when you order in a restaurant. It's not your turn to then be extravagant and order the most expensive item on the menu. So be cautious with that. Alcohol at business meetings, you only order that when the guest orders an alcoholic drink, and especially if it's early in the day, doesn't really set a good example if you order alcohol in the morning. If we look at eating utensils at a business meeting, it can be quite daunting, as you see on this slide. The main rule is always start from the outside and work your way to the plate. And right hand will always be the first to start. On the slide, you will see that there is a small seafood fork, and that's what you will start with. And then serviettes. What do I do with my serviette? In all cases, the moment you sit at a table, you take the serviette, whether it's on the side plate or from the glass, and you put it on your lap. Very important to be aware of what the people around you are doing at especially formal events. Take their lead, especially your host, or if you're the host, make sure that your guests are comfortable, that you've shared all the information with them, and at the event that you pay attention to each one of them and you communicate effectively with them. Business meetings. Always make sure that at a business meeting, whether you are the chairperson of the meeting or you are just a guest at the meeting, that you switch off your cell phone, or you at least put it on silent. Also, the notifications on all our electronic devices should be switched off. It's very bad manners to take a call while you are attending a meeting as a guest of someone else. If you are expecting an important call, please let the chairperson know, and when the call comes, you excuse yourself and you go outside the room and you speak. Then, when you're at a meeting, be present. Be there. Don't be busy with other things. There's a reason why you are at the meeting. You're there to make a contribution. So make sure that you do that. And also, be prepared. If there are any documents that you need to be aware of, any information that you need to share at the meeting, make sure that you've prepared sufficiently before the meeting and that you know what is expected of you. Important to know how to address people. Address them by their names. People love to hear their names. So make sure that you know the people present, and if you don't, introduce yourself and take note of their names and address them accordingly. Make eye contact when you address people, and also be courteous. Please, thank you. Those two crucial words. If you chair a meeting and you say that you are starting at 10 o'clock, make sure that you honor your attendees' time and that you start on time, and also that you end on time. If you see that a meeting is going to run a bit late, always ask permission from the people attending the meeting if you can continue for another 10 minutes or 15 minutes. Remember that a lot of times people have other meetings during the day as well, and that will just impact on everything for the rest of their day. In communication and your conduct with people, it's very important that you look and act assertive. When I know what I'm going to communicate, when I know how to communicate, I will always display a professional image, and that is what you should try and do continuously. If you chair a meeting, always remember that people's time is of the utmost importance. When you say you're going to start at 10 o'clock, be on time. And if you see that you are going to go over the arranged time, always ask permission from the people that you've invited to your meeting. I really hope that you have learned something from all the various ways that we communicate, and always remember that communication is a skill that needs work daily. And by being aware of brain profiles, of communication styles, you will improve your communication, adapt your way of communication to that of the people that you engage with, and you will be a much more professional estate agent. Thank you. And you will see that you need to answer 10 multiple choice questions. You can refer back to the presentation in order to find the correct answers.